Paljon damagea Tsuke voi ottaa, herra jumala. Näkyykö stream? Tuliko pop-up tohon kun mä yritin käynnistää mitä mä en ehtinyt lukea? Se oli Twitter-paska. Ei kiinnosta. Tsuke räjähti Plagueborneja. Vaikea peli.
Periaatteessa me voitais räjättää tuo bossia nyt.
Periaatteessa vaikka mikä on mahdollista, mutta mennään nyt Tsuke-reitillä.
It's time this experiment has an explosive result!
Clean off.
Erittäin clean.
Älä juokse Grievousta kun pakoon vittu.
Kui?
Ei lyönti juokse.
Erä hätäile, en mä kuule mihinkään.
That is the plague's true power. It lingers.
Joku tästä täytyy venaa ennen kuin menee yhtään damakea seuraavia, kun ei tiedä yhtään mitä pullata.
Even the victor.
Elaa nyt se pullo sit on.
And he reached out and seized the plague. The House of Eyes would still stand.
Tää sul kävi.
Will correct his
Mä pulasin ton
mistake.
vittu.
All will suffer, as the House of Eyes has
Ei kai sit
suffered.
tullu vittu hiiliagroillekin. Ei. Oi. Mä kunnolla kesken vitut rankut.
You will not stop me. My blade will rend your flesh.
2, 1.
No target has escaped me. Your demise the shadows. A single scratch is all it
5,
will take.
4, 3, 2,
Target has escaped me.
five, 4,
A single scratch
2,
is all it will
1.
take. Fear the dagger in the dark.
Vittu.
5, 4,
My blades will rend your
1.
flesh. I will slay you where you stand. Your demise comes from the shadows.
5, 4,
My blades will rend your
1.
flesh. No target has escaped me. Vengeance will be mine. Who trespasses upon the house of plagues? Who seeks that which cannot be controlled? If you so desire this power, then come and claim it, and let it claim you.
Welcome. We've been expecting you. Keepers of Rod, heed my call. Rise, servants of plague.
Iltaa.
Iltaa.
The many old lights come. You are
Vittu mulle...
Voi Turu.
Tuleeko se rappu?
Behold, my final work, my pride, and my doom. You cannot avoid this fate. My house
kunnon ruoka tulee käsken viimeistä bossifaitin.
Häp.
Vanha kunnon ruoka tulee kesken viimeisen bossifaitin. Nyt saan yrittämään aina.
Sale soitti oven takaa.
Mm. Katsois miten vitus sieltä tuli 15 vaan, mutta se oli kielynä vain.
Tää on ensimmäinen avain, mitä mä oon tehnyt varmaan 2 kuukautta.
Sitten Gear Inspect nopeasti.
Halloo, mitä vittua?
Haloo, mitä
Kai
nää
sillä
sun
on
taas
Max Gear.
20 housut on?
Onko se ainut biisi?
Se on ainut biissi.
Mut mitä ne on? Et sä vastaa mun kysymykseen. Terveä mun ruoan oven takaa.
Onko kontsa?
No ois
Bissihousut.
Miikkä bissihousut?
Eihän ne ollu ees bissihousut.
Eihän ne ookaan.
Jep. Yrität vittu valehdella täällä, mä inspektosin aikaisemmin.
Taitaa tulla.
Kylläpä täällä nyt porukkaa herää.
Ois kello sen verran, että joottakin.
Tää. Tässä
Niin, monelta Turun herää sitten.
4 varmaan.
Jää, uskaska.
Tää vittu.
Ite heräsi ainakin 12 jälkeen.
Paskapuheet.
Joo.
Itekään tuota.
Mulla on 200 kroopissa, eikä kukaan muualla kanssa.
Ei jouva.
Tää ei
Olin
jouko.
täällä jossain Ansa-groupissa.
Täällä ois gigagruppi.
Ottelen saunan lämpeämistä teihin käymään siellä ennen töihin mennä.
Teihin mennoo.
Tai siis töihin takaisin menemistä.
Täh?
Miteekö se
Täh?
sanonut eilen, että se menee aamulla töihin? Pitäis nyt uudestaan.
Niin. Nyt perus lauantai-vuoro, että mä menen 12 on 6 asti, menen 3 tunnin tauolle ja menen 9 takaisin.
Tää vittu.
Kanaalista.
Perus tuplavuoro.
Nipeä tulee ainakin kontsaa. Elahoitsa tulee ainakin kontsaa.
Todellakin vittu. Konso gamer vittu.
No meillä olisi tankki täällä groupissa.
Meilläkö olisi tankki täällä
Rasi.
groupissa?
Meillä on oikea tankki täällä groupissa.
Meillä on oikeampi tankki täällä groupissa.
Väitäks ei Turru, että Nipe ei oo oikea tankki?
No ei, ainakaan
Väität sä, että Soke ei oo oikea tankki. Jännä.
Kuka?
Soke.
Ai sekö on siellä?
Niin.
Miksi sä käyt piskus? Mitä vittu?
Mitä?
Perkele. No on se sitten oikein, no se oli Nipe-tankkina. Ei, Nipekään ei ois oikea tankki, mutta sillähän...
Luulet sä,
Meni
ettei
jo.
mulle tämmösiä best in slot gamereita mun kaverilistalla, mitä helvettiä.
Missä lastaus?
Kaveri.
Täältä löytyy vaikka mitä vitu envyjä sun muita. Okei, mä oon kyllä puhun envyllä.
No mahtuuko sinne kroppi vaikka se täys?
No täällä olisi 3 pelaajaa tuossa Groupissa, et ei me olla tietääkseni menossa mihinkään 3v3.
Ja siellä on tankkia ja hiilo.
No, mä voin myös depsiä.
Et voi, no niin loistavaa, me tullaan sinne depsaamaan. Ei meillä ole hiiloa muuten. Kyse ei ollut siitä, että jos olisi jotenkin teikki sinun depsaamisessa, se oli teikki siihen, että kukaan muu meistä ei halua hiilää. Mutta jäämme ehkä tällä tukkilla.
En mä se varma, että haluatko Soke vetää lisää, mutta ei se ainakaan poistunut groupista.
Tullaan depsimään, jos on depsi vaikka auki siellä. Tai hyppää makelista.
Onko se Afkisa?
Ei, kun tuossa olet äsken viestiä.
No ja kyllä se haluaa tankata vielä.
Mitä sulla me tarvii? Tarvisi Other Sidein tehtyä.
Miten yhdellä Keys-kommentilla tuli noin vitun monta ilmoitusta? Se oli 2.
Tarviiks ne depsiä?
Jos Soke pysyy, niin meillä on full.
Jep. Jep. Ainakin yhden se näyttäisi ainakin vielä jos kun kattaa avaimia. Mutta joo, me ei tuu mieluummin varmaan varrolla tankkaa. Ei kun tankkaamaan kun depsimme. Tällä on jo 2 valttia.
No niin, kannatella vaan yhden ja sitten voin tulla ihan sama millä. Makeella tai monkilla.
I hunt for Ardenweald.
Miksi subcreation?
Serra sulta ollaan viemässä GM:n paikkaa.
Miten niin?
Varjo saatana näköjään haluis GM:ksi.
Mitä vittu?
Tai haluais Nonin GM:ksi.
Eikä, no niin, Trialilla vähennetty GM-rooli täällä.
Mikä rooli sulla nyt on?
Social altti.
No, onko se oikea?
Ei.
No onko sillä triali alttia eriks?
Täällä on social rosteri, core altti vaihtoehto mulla laitettavana. Elikkä core
altti.
Something for every occasion.
No, pääset
Niin Varjo
sosiaaliksi.
No mitä? Tää on yhtään parempi.
No joo.
Se on
No on.
promotion G-kikiksi.
Halo.
Haluan vieläkin sen mun Kislovo-roolin tänne, mutta sitä ei tullu vielä.
Olet mulla valori vielä 200.
Sera ei hyväksy tämmöstä erikoiskohtelua.
Visit me again.
Haluan pistää sen tonne tulokkaan alapuolelle.
Se on aika hyvä diili.
Ainakin Sera, milloin me saadaan se Peace Random rankki Turulle?
Eikö Pislow?
No Peace Slow Random. Kompromissi.
Kaikki ne yhteen siihen. Mega Bislow Random. Ei se näytä hyvältä niin pitkästi.
Saako noin pitkään rankkia edes tehtyä?
No tuo H voisi olla ihan kiva, mutta meillä ei oo Venturia, niin se on aika kringi.
Niin, se on aika kringetä, kun kaikki 3 on kaikki kyrjäneen.
No mulla olisi hyytäjä, mutta kun me sillä haluttuun.
Miksi on
kuustaamassa
tää?
meitä täällä. Älä tämmösiä. No I mean NV vois vähän...
Oi vittu, mä olisin tankki NV. Tarvis korea.
Jee, mitä
Ja siis varjosaatanako sitä hiilaa vai?
Soke hiilaa.
Mä en oo ikinä nähnyt Soken hiilaavan.
Kerta se on ensimmäinenkin. No se varmasti parempi kuin varjosaatana.
Tuo nyt tarkoittaa
Kyllä siis tossa välillä tuli jo ikävä Mentlin balladi, niin kun meinattiin vipeillä Prideihin.
This.
Halo.
Mä kävin kattoon, me itse asiassa taisin runnata vähän vääriä talentteja. Sille me runnasin talentteja, joita käytetään tyyliin silloin, jos on kyrjä ja käyttää shockbarrier legendary.
Niin, eli Raidi HPS talentit.
Niin ja aika samahan on Mythic Plus sekin.
Tarvis joku devise? Voidaan mennä tänne mun dossiin.
Voidaan mä sen ottaa.
Eikin itse tarvisin sen vielä.
Mullakaan ei oo upattavaa Devissä, mulla on vaan toi viime patsin 26.
Että tarvii kukaan mitään upattavaa luuttia, kukaan ei vastannut mitään ton chat. Nyt kaikki haluaa Devis.
No, aiemmin en mä käytä Devissä, ellei se olis Faultista. Mut voin mä sen ottaa.
Onko meillä Nightfire? No onhan meillä
Onhan
druideja.
meillä näitä Nightfight.
Minäkin oon Nightfire, haluan. Meillä on 3 Nightfire.
Meillä on druideja tässä vaikka kuinka paljon, että...
Kenen loget talent.
Ja pitäis kun pelaa eri buildilla. En mä käykö se vaihtaa.
Joo, ei kannata. Onko nipeillä kaikilla se alteella jo juostu paskaa?
Vitu.
Varmasti joo.
On tällä ja Rokuella käynyt yhden. Mut täällä on tommonen varjosaatana kannettavan.
Seuraava on Monkilla tai äskein. Tai Hyyteellä.
Eikö Mainilla?
Joo, pitänyt sille yhden.
Priisi tarvitsisi vielä 3 avainta.
Eikö niin, jos sehän veit eilen. Se oli se onnistunut dos, eikö toppi.
Mä puhun mulle.
Tarvitsi palallinen valoria sattuneesta syistä.
Mulla on 6% avoidanseen, niin onko se niinku 6% vähemmän AOE damakea?
Kyllä mun ymmärtääkseni.
Kyllä näin on.
Pitää
Ja kovin
paikkansa.
vörtti. Verrattuna vaikka Leedsiin, mutta... Se ei saa valita, niin pitää mennä sille mitä on.
No siis riippuu, tankkina voidaan se kova.
No... Niin,
Ei vaan kun-
minä unoihinkin tässä sen fakta, että Lipsufist vissiin Brewmastereista.
Mä mietin vaikka mulla on noit tossa, niin mä mietin, että hommaan mun soketin tohon ringiin vai
Jeesus
tähän
Kristus.
nekkiin.
En mä tiedä, haluatko se 220 nekkin käyttää?
No kun se on justi, että mä en sinänsä haluis 2-2 sit nekkiin, mutta...
Siis mikä nuo ylemmät on, niin onko se toinen noista päällä nyt vai?
Siis mulla on tämä päällä. Ja
Joo.
sitten toiseksi ringiksi, toinen näistä.
Sokketin tuohon avoiden sen, niin se on ihan gigabis.
Niin, niistä mä mietin, että heitänkö mä soketin siihen. Plus tossa olisi vielä statitkin oikein päin.
Silleen kuitenkin kun tulee se megadungia, niin sieltä tulee instana 226 enemmän. Eikö siellä ollut se ihan giganekki siellä dungia, niin se vai oliko se ringi vai mikä?
Se oli ringi, se ihan giga krittivärs.
Halo?
Tässä on Vaultista toi Spirasin nekki.
Ootteko te sisällä ja muut saat?
Joo, kyllä se helpet.
Mitä vittua?
Tuo flaski loppuu taas kesken, voi helvetty.
No niin, päälle vaan toi saatanan fiisti ja mennä.
Joku treidaa mulle flaski.
Tonni.
Paljon?
Mieti paljon flaskit. Makkataan.
Siis onko sun Lulu nykyään OP vai miksi se bannataan joka peliin?
On köyhä mies. Tän 400
700 aika average. No joskus saa 600, joskus on 800, mutta 700 aika average varmaan.
Voit maksaa 400. Juutalainen.
Se on tyyli... Pelihanstaa tyyli on tyyliin 2 potia niin vittu.
Uru, onko Lulu nykyään OP lollis vai miksi se bannataan joka peliin?
Eikö se aina olla?
En tiedä, tällaisia se on ollut peropänneissä jostain syystä. Siis se on ihan vittuun anaali championi pelata vastaan.
Meillä ei oo boppia, minä kyllä käyttää Augmenruneja.
Tää purnataan Augmentrunet, ei tarvitse tulla enää bossille.
Jos tulisi tuo ringi soketilla, niin voisin kyllä ottaa sen.
Ota pelaa ready-checkia ja ynnä muuta. Katsotaanko meillä pelurit valmiina. Turun meikä tarvii muuten kohta lisää prolongan powereita.
Mikä käyttänyt jo pitkään aikaa. Meillä ei lustia.
5, 4, 3, 2.
Jätääkö Joke kuka sä oot?
Ei.
Bearit, ainakin kaikki bearit, jotka on meikän pelannut Mystic Plussa, niin neillä ainakin kestää hetkisen, että ne saa kunnolla ne samakään miettiä noihin. Niin meikä ainakin venaa hetken täällä. No over.
No ilmankas, eihän Jokella on näköjään vankkojen diskoja.
Joo, mä katoin kanssa, mä en löytänyt sitä tuolta.
Harmikko on Beast Race. Harmikko on Beast Race.
Ottakaa sille diskolinkki.
Haluaaks tulla tän?
Ei se halua pisaraan noitten kapelaa.
Ei. Kuule, Jokellut ankoissa kauan ennen kuin sä oot tullut tänne.
Niin mä oon kuullut.
Mutta jos on valinnut, et sä on lähtenyt täältä.
Tää on parempaa.
Tai sille
Halloo.
Ei vaan kun tässä vittu. No niin, nyt ei anneta Turun trollata, mutta siis... Miksi se olisi liivannut diskosta, jos sillä ei ole jotakin omaa tyylissä?
Ehkä joku Styli Snifflähän purkesi sitä diskoa yhdessä välissä.
Niin, vähän luulet.
Ai jaa, sitten laittakaa se vittu
Siinähän.
takaa. Ei se nyt ainakaan häviä mitään, jos se acceptaa sen, niin sen tietää ainakin, että se vihaa tätä paikkaa. Ei se ota, jos ei annakaan.
Älkää pelata me leiskää vasta joukkoon.
No niin, älä
Kaikki 3 otitte. Ai Jeesus.
Ai siis minkään noita vitu seiliä.
Niin.
Haloo, karma damage.
Koitin ottaa sitä vittu
Haloo,
purkkia.
varjosaatana.
Koitin ottaa sitä purkkia siitä, mutta olin siinä vitun rangen ulkopuolella. Tai siis sisällä just, että kuolin sen maskiin. Kukaan ottaa sitä purkkia?
Tää on se jätkä, joka huutelee täällä.
Häh? Kukaan näistä droideista ottaa sitä purkkia, piti vielä mennä sinne. Missä oli elahotsi? Ei näkyy.
Oot paino hiiliä tänne.
Joo, kyllä se on yleensä hiilo, joka kästä. Koska se ei mitään hiilattavaa, jos se tunaa oikein aikaa.
Me koitin mennä sinne, sitten me hiiloi menneen, sitten se maskii kuulosta vierestä, meni sen rangen kuolla.
Se hiilattava alkaa vasta, jos ei käytä se stunia.
Se on kyllä totta, mutta kyllä mä siitä turuusytän tästä.
Aina tulla siitä. Jepkok.
Ai. Mä menen pullatun satana spiritin tuota kohtaa.
Menit aika vaarallisesti sinne.
No vittu, kun täällä ei saa saatana hiilinkin.
Sä oot rankeessa.
No joo.
Oispa tusk farmi hiilaaps.
Älä puhu tämmösiä vittu.
Varaa mitään toivot.
Tää niin helvetistä.
Me Vivi kuoli vaan se. Halloo, mitä vittua?
Mulla ei mitään tepuja enää.
Olisiko damagea tohon jotain?
Sataisiko hiiliä?
Miten vittu me kuollaan damagea tähän?
Jep.
Tappakaa se vittu.
Ei
Ai jumala.
Kaikki depsit kuoli.
1.5k DPS varjosaatana.
Ne tuli ihan vitun myöhässä tuohon, mutta ok bro.
1.5k DPS.
Aika samalta miltä Eladotsi näytti.
Siis en mä koskaan ollut noin huono, herran jumala.
No, ainakaan mennä overall tankilla puolella.
Valitan.
Overall.
Niin.
Ei se kyllä oo.
En mä kyllä oo bro.
Siis nyt? Niin, no et välttämättä. Tää kyllä ei lungun lopussa järjestä.
Se tuntuu, että ei onnistu bro.
Vittu reilua. Kaikki Uber-gamerit tietää, että CD-ssä pitää merkata damagea, että tulee se overallissa korkea.
Now here's a lower you might remember. Haka always be needing mojo for his rituals, and one Sunday always be willing to make a deal. Well, what you give me that look for? Sure, Haka be a lower blood, but a deal's a deal, man. Just give me mojo back.
Milloin no vitun shadit lopettaa vittu meikän perään?
Nytpä ne puhutaan, mä seuraan.
Ootko nyt seistä siinä vitun Eflossa?
Tässä ei tuu damagea. Voitko painaa tää sen Pridein mekolle siihen? Ei kuulta nekään oikein silloin käyttö, kun ei tuu damagea. Cool.
Eikä tämä kukka, tai eikä tää alo mikään vitu cooldown jossain.
Toivottavasti ei.
Joka ennen on. Tai silloin joskus päkki. Se oli joka päkki se on.
Pointti on, että saat siitä hotiin.
No, kulleessa.
Siis.
Low clap.
Eikö me oo kellään purkanoin?
No, en minä tiedä. Mä oon orkki.
Goblini. Eikö healer pysty tänne pois?
Ei. Tälleen purke.
Okei. Okay. Megalosossa sassussa ses perkele.
Kun on miten mennä niin omasta mielestä.
No vittu. Jos ei saa tehdä damagea silloin kun on asiat ylhäällä, niin milloin vittu sitten? Jos silleen kun eihän tämä saatan ole mistään kotoisin, että me käytän napit, niin vittu ne kaikki lyö minua. Niin me käyttää 13 000 nappia. Tekee 40k AODPS ja sitä ei kukaan lyö.
Niin. Hei, that's life. Haluaisipä ottaa depsiä, miltä nyt tuntuu?
Tuu hyvältä. Mitäkö maas dispelillä?
Voi vitun vittu. Mä painoin, mikä tuo nappuun nimi on? Painoin Psychic Screamin, mutta se silti löi mua. What?
Niin no.
Miten helvetissä?
Mitä tähän nyt voi sanoa muuta kuin että saatana.
Eiks me undere?
Oh, jep. Ei niin fearit.
Feare ei toimi undere.
Painoin vitun Spiteful CD-ihin.
No kyllä se niihin toimii, mutta siinä oli myös sitä vitun...
Spiteful minua vissiin löi.
No onko se varmaan, kun
Mihin
siinä oli päällekkäin
vittuun
niitä...
mie kuolen? Mulla on dispersion päällä, mä toivottavasti niin kuolet tähän, että me ottiin damagea, mutta... Se on tämän väliin.
NGL mä en oo ikinä kolissut näin pahasti Prideissa.
Se ei auta, että me aloitetaan se Pride silleen, että kaikki 30% HP tai Grievous-täkkiä.
Pitäis kyllä vittu liikuttaa se vitun bossia.
Feels good man, kun 3 spinning ranking prokista prokkaa uusi prokki.
Me ei kuole tähän vittu vaan.
Siinä tuli nipe.
Later, I'm gonna be back. You can't keep a bad load down.
Kyllä kusipasko pulli tähän viikolla.
Nyt tuli aika kyllä dick move. Miksi Turusi teit noin nipellä?
Sitten kun Stab Blaster ei toimi plussas.
Ai mikä ei toimi?
Swap Blaster.
Ihana tilanne olla priest. Voi klippailla vaan omiin.
Vittu vammonen. Rippa kerrankin niin me vittu. Teen kaikki näitä mä avain depletöitä.
Se minun. No. Se multa on pois. Se on taas spiriitti vai nyt.
Ei mistä oteta varmaan ilman Bridea tähän hättää. Kun tappaa silloin Briden kanssa.
You don't just be trolls who be coming to ask for old one Sandy's help. All kinds be making deals with the lower adept. Like these two crazy little gnomes here. They both be hungry for power. So we were more than happy to oblige. But now, maybe leave that mojo back.
Niinpä vielä vähän rajoja.
Jokeekin on man of culture, vähän käyttää pusken toisella päällä.
Jokeasta pistäkää damagea vittu.
Tuleeko megapuu? Tulee.
Ei vittu nyt. Kyllä näin toi. Miksi minä löi sillä? Saatana.
Siinä on niitä kirkkaita haamuja.
Tuolla ei mitään. Se tuli samaan aikaan laitoit päälle, kun se aukolla. Katsoin, että se auttakaa, niin mä tulin nyt läpi. Ai tärkeää, että pitää!
Joo, otetaan.
Mä olin ihan tunnelvisioinut siihen paskaan. Tää helvettiä.
Eikä kyrjänpotia, niin vittu on CD, saatana, että ei kuoli. Liivi. Ei vittu riitetä. Riittää. Mitä se tei?
No vittu, käveli sitä putken takaa liian aikaisin ulos, kun mä ajattelin, että se kästi toinen läpi. Mut sieltä tuli se viimeinen kästi vielä.
Eihän se vaan
No. Meitä alkaa huudistella nonin raidaajia, mutta ehkä mä en kehtaa, kun Joke on täällä.
Halo? Se ressi.
Halo?
Ja Soke haki kombatin tuolta, niin se keskeytyi valitettavasti.
Jep. Elää kyllä ikinä kästänyt sitä ressiä vai tämän touko.
Kyllä se kästäs. Minä en Prinsin mäkälä se kästäs jotakin reveikkeniä vai mikä vittu se on, revirrettiin vittu mikä.
Revitalisä.
Joku revita, joku juote just.
Joo, kyllä se... Näin pääsi tapahtumaan.
Siitä en voi mennä takuun sille, vaan seurasin se kyllä aloitin sen kästi, mutta en tiedä mikä se vielä.
Joo, se et Soke pullasi aggron tuolta ja mun kästi keskeytyy kun on kombatissa, niin se on vaan yhteensattuma. Oikeesti mä vaan trollasin. Mä oon pahoillani.
Mitä mä kyllä trollasta?
Harmillista. Nyt vittu. rossimaan.
Ei tällaista.
Kuinka paljon toi voi sattua vittu?
Kortti viikko. Nää sattuu enemmän kuin passi.
No vittu, mulla on kaikki mahdollisuudet kiinni kaikissa vittu ja ne tynti vittu. Tuo on varmaan käy.
Corruptin.
Varsinaisesti kyllä mä vittu 4 hottia kiinni samaan aikaan.
Mulla on nyt droppi. Seuraavasta.
Me oon ikinä nähnyt näitä näin vitulla.
Tulee vähän nihkeä, koska tuohon meni nyt rankkuja ja Florishia ja mulla ei oo sit legit niinku yhtään mitään, mutta seuraavaan 40 puntia. Mitään. Me pärjätään.
Meillä tulee Pride tästä.
Joo mä tiedän, tässä se point.
Good luck in e-sport nyt näin.
Juu vittu, se on just hyvä tilanne, missä kaikki ollaan vittu.
Joke, ei vittu mitä paitteni tähän kun... Sille... Mie saatoin stunata jonkun, mutta kun minä halunnut liikkua, mutta sitten me menisin tappaa itselleen liikkumaan, että se oli vähän niinku... Shady pääsi meleen. Tai minun meleen. Easy, me ollaan ilman healeria pois.
Tämä vittu tämmöstä. Dispersion.
Ei voi tehdä vittu mitään.
Me ollaan ilman healeria täällä.
Kuoletaan vaan.
What the fuck?
7 KHP se vittu riitä.
Kiilaa enemmän.
Brood on vähän ongelma, kun siitä ei vaan niinku lähe.
Mepulla bossi.
That dusty old Loa has sent debt collectors already, but I haven't had his mojo.
Älä jaksaa!
Oti meni vittu.
Elotin puolas. Me... Ela, sun pitää juosta.
Vittua.
No ei me saada sua reppattua sieltä alhaalta.
Niin.
Se on massessimillä sieltä otetaan.
No, meillä
se
meni...
sattuu olemaan siellä kuolleen.
Meillä menee koko Pride haukkaan. Meillä 3 sekkaa Pride.
Vittu mä trollasin, mä pistin nyt jo kuularit. No.
Mäkin pistin.
Kaikilla on kuunarit näitä.
Joo, tossa vaan se on, että tää tulee kuoleen tää ädi. Meillä pitäis toinen kerran saada pöttöä.
Mä en oo Auer tulee siellä. Ei me vaikka stoppaa damage tyyliin. Ei meillä oo varmaan damage tappaa sitä.
No nyt on pakko olla.
Mitä vittua?
Mä tiedän damagen tähän.
No ei nyt pakko, no me mietit damagelta mun dotit sinne ruttaamassa.
Josko ne pitää tehdä 4% eikä
Ja nipä se nyt
No meni ihan perkkas.
Paljon sitä kiinni kyllä on.
Aika riski tulla joo.
Ai mikä on riski?
Katoit, siellä oli pommi, eikä kukaan mennyt sinne, mutta...
11 kertaa Prideista tää meidän Shadow Priest on painunut Embracein muuten.
0.
Nice. Good player.
Mikä on Embrace?
Hiilaa minun omia, menen toisin intarispelle. Ei sillä se hiiraisi hirveästi.
No eihän se hiilaa kuin semmonen 100 000 niinku healthia sen käsissä.
Jep. Yhden Pridein aikana hiilaa varmasti tosi paljon.
No, kyllä sit singleen saa semmosen 60 tonnia valua ainakin.
Mä painan sen seuraavan Pridein. Jos et oo 60 tonnia, niin kun se auki, mut syötä näin.
Jos sä saa pelaa, niin sanoi mulla on.
Niin mikäs tässä olisi niinku plääni?
Näköjään
Mulla ei
kuollut.
oo vittu mitään.
Ei ollu mullakaan saatana. Nyt on
Mullakin dispersin 30 CD. Joo, mä en käytä Pridein CDtä, niin varmaan...
Mä käyn kuolla tänne! Kuinka
Mullekin
cringe?
tänne asti, mitä helvettiä?
Totta kävi kuolla tänne. Mut ei prokannut sit vitun bleedistäkin. Ei tää nyt aivan megalonisen vitun cringeä.
Oli ihan vitun kringeä, mutta heittää kuularit tähän. Mulla on 20 sekkaa olla Weapons of Orderia.
Tää.
Ai cringe oli, että tähän piti käyttää kuoret. Aaka.
Onko ollut yhtä, että hiilat jos painat
No siihen, että
HP:stä?
se tapetaan sillä, että mulla jää 20 sekkaa kuulareita jäljelle.
Et sä lyö noita.
Syö nopeasti karman läpi.
Now old boy and Sandy don't just be making deals on Azeroth. Brokers be looking for power too. All kind of power. This one ain't gonna wanna give me back my mojo. So careful now. She's tricky.
Mikä?
Onko mulla... Vittu, pitäis olla ihan vähän enemmän hastea. Meidän Minesirihin aikana ei saada koko 200 Searing Nightmare-kästiä vaan. On perseestä.
Sano uudestaan.
Tuon Minesir vai mikä onkaan se Aue-paskan aikana ehti saada vaan 2 kästiä tuota Searing Nightmarea.
Joo. Tai ei siihen 3 saada, mut se ei oo kannattaa käyttää.
Ei, mä en ehdi kirjallisesti saada sitä.
Sillä on tarpeeksi haasteja.
No
Mut
niin.
siis se pitäis... Siis sä refreshaat sen 3 tavallaan komballa, mikä siinä on. Muuten sun menee hukkaus globaali.
Nää spawnaa jauhoja, ole vitun varmasti.
Mä kun olet pamanaa.
Vittu, me pullisin dragoonimi kuolla. Mut soke... Voi vittu. My god. Nyt niinku on tähän vitun shading, me hyppään sinne päin.
Ai vittu, se vaihto targettia muuhun, sä kuolit.
Me pulla sitä kyllä mindbend.
Sä portaat tällaista.
Oh my fucking god.
Vittu, no miin repairmonttaan täällä nyt kun on.
On 96% tän jälkeen.
Kumminkin Jokeen routeen kuuluu nämä mitä.
Big brain.
Vitusti liikaa prosentteja. Jos mä saisin kautta mahdollisimman paljon nyt siitä seuraavasta kujaasta.
Tää on kyllä vammanen Forttiviikolla tää vitu. Myhressi.
Vaan tuo.
Imagine, että joskus Mythin Plussa haluttiin pullata, tai ei haluta, mutta silleen ei ajateltu tarpeeksi sitä.
Mahdollisimman vähän tästä. Mä en tiedä miten se onnistuu.
Mulla ainakin, no itse mä tulee votiin pois edeltä ihan just.
Vai? Mulla on feidi, mutta se ei nyt hirveästi auta.
Eihän se toimi sillä tavalla.
Siis kun se voi mennä tuosta niinku... Kyllähän tästä rangeista nyt detektoinut, mut mihin päästä tosta niinku menemään. Tästä tappanut 2 vasemmalta, niin pääsin tosta ohi. Me tarjottu niinku ihmisille vaan.
Eihän feidi lyhennä sitä rangea.
Ei niin, se on mindsuit, mutta ei sitä range.
Mindsuit on lyhennät rangea, feidi on se, että sä poistat threatin itels.
Reducing enemies attack range against you for 10 seconds.
Onks kaikilla pottu ylhäällä?
Se on feidin passive.
Annon.
On.
Mulla ei oo inipottoa, ei mulla ei oo CD-potiailla.
Exposes.
No, ressataanko se?
No restaat.
Aha, ei sit.
Ei meillä ole Haloo! No, meillä on ihan vituusti prosentteista.
Tää Kraijaa täällä.
Joo, materiaalikin tuli.
Oo, mä kävin cooldownit tähän.
No joo, niin jep, ei tässä vittu mitään enää. Muuta kuin väkiit seinää vaan saada.
Siitä Pride.
Punainen kaveri tähän kyllä. Ai vittu, saatana.
Sitten vielä tulee tuolla poropäkki tuolla alhaalla.
En rakennut vaan shady vittu. Se juttu.
No onneksi meillä on karvia ja se on rikkinäinen pakki. Siis mikä vittu sinne sieltä sieltä meni vittu yksin niin sanotusti?
Me ei soke ollut sieltä. Tai.
Mulla se bossille nämä?
Ei varmaan.
No mie käytän minun auet näihin, että voi teette. Täällä on Pride ja sen suoran bossi.
On 20 sekkaa vielä kuurareen.
Sellainen dossi, siellä on varmaan 110% ainakin.
Tää.
You will pay dearly for this. I will step lightly if I were you. Away with you. Care to give this one a try? This should be
Entertain. 5,
away with you.
3, 2, 1.
It is our home.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Mä tarvin ihan vituusti hiiliä, mulla tää on lightning.
Meillä on trinkattu päällä.
Entertain.
Now, where to put you? Hold this.
Saanko muuttaa tämä lightning? Melee saas. Totta kai.
Mulla oli äsken.
No nyt se on taas mulla.
Onko 12? Onko se paljon sun säkkiä?
Mulla on 2 enää resettis.
2, 1.
Ah!
Aina ulluikin homma.
Entertain.
Mitäs se nyt trollaa tää varjo saa?
Siis kun voin sanoa, että mä en yhtään nähnyt, että tuli pommi edes. Mä olin siltä kato räjähdys.
Ei se ollut pommika, se oli se vitun.
Ei, mutta siis no ylipäätään se paska case, että räjähtää. Sen tarkoitan.
Eikä tilannetta varmaan auttanut se, että mie en mennyt sinne niin siihen katsomaan, että te olette lähtenyt.
Se oli niin paljon dispersioon, mutta sitten täysin kuoli.
Mie voi mennä
Top
taakse.
oikee. Eta shift.
Takaa oikea.
Ja kun olen bleediin tänne.
Someday, what chance you'll be having against me? It be Mazala who brought hell
Kyllä tässä on tarpeeksi Ruudirunne tällä viikolla.
Yes, please.
And made the Banshee watch it with a whisper.
Että menit, joo.
Maybe you've been skulking in the shadows for too long.
Ei aivottamme yhteen siinä olla rodkeut tuotettuna piirityökin.
Kato varjosotaan, niin pitää mennä auttaa.
Tulossa. Vai ennemmin?
Tässä on mutta se...
Etnäpä teille hiilaa niinku puhut. Kiitos.
Times change, man. Mortals never be as weak as you believe
Aivan
them to
vitun
be.
nättiä.
You see, they are.
Tuollainen paska vitun rätiin saatiin tästä runeista.
But don't you be worried about a thing. You're gonna be having plenty of time to learn from your mistakes. You did good, heroes, yeah. But what was
Niin sä painat vampyrkempressiä kerran.
Aina 4 vai 3.
3. Jos sä
4 tai
painaa nappeisiin samalla.
Joo, mulla ei vaan oo CD-tä Friday.
Täällä on Fortiviikon CD Fridayhin, mä haluaisin tietää.
Haha, CD Fridayhin, kun sä voit käyttää niihin päkkeihin Fortiin.
Niinku what? Sä käytät päkkeihin ennen sitä Friday. Mitä sanoit?!
Pridehan skaalaa Fortista.
Joo. Tämmösen enkä ois sana pelattu ajan plussaa sitten.
Mitä?
Ei mitään. Ei mitään. Ei ollenkaan mitään. Sun 1400 tarjo on kumminkin hyvä sanoma, että Fortified buffaa Raidi.
Kyllä se ainakin sitä damage outputtia buffaa.
also noticed more people on light subclasses when I played. Like a lot more. It used to be like one to two people in a 12-man lobby, and now some of my games it was the majority, which I have not seen. I've never seen
most of my games. It's mostly like subclasses now. Dawnblade and Spectral Blades. I mean, these things they're back on top. And I've seen a lot of people say like Stasis and Nurse were dumb. Now we're just back to Dawnblade and Spectral. It's like, bro, but you're not being objective here. Yes, there is always going to be something on top, but is it as bad as Stasis was?
Yeah.
Heck no. You don't go into a lobby and see 9 Dawnblades. You don't. It just doesn't happen. You know what I'm saying? It's not as oppressive as Stasis, and it wasn't as free. I mean, Top Tree Dawnblade, I mean, they've already said it's probably going to have to be brought down a little bit. I mean, they already said that. But it has a high skill ceiling. Stasis was different. Stasis was, I have 0 talent, I have 0 skill, and I can kill you.
Yeah.
And I don't say that to diminish people or to be insulting.
No.
It's just a fact. I mean, and it's just a fact. These abilities they track for you.
You miss your cold snap, it's still gonna yeet over to the nearest guy and freeze him.
Because when you hit someone with a cold snap, they can't defend themselves. There's no skill there, there's no talent there, there's no effort there. You pushed a button, you want to fight. And I don't say that to be diminishing, but they took that away. Praise God all freaking mighty. And it's so much better. Now, Destiny still has issues. It still has a lot of stuff needs to be fixed. But this was a big ticket item to check off the list. I'm so glad we did it. What's up?
Just to play on that, that's actually one of the things I forgot about is the ability to use movement abilities when slowed.
Uh-huh. Hunters can dodge roll.
Incredible. That changes everything.
Not just like
would say.
Not just movement abilities, but you can activate your class abilities. So even if you don't have a movement ability, even if you're a Titan, before when you got slowed, you're dead.
Yeah,
you're
exactly.
Just dead. Now you could put up your barricade. It's like, okay, I might be slowed, but you can't kill me now. Or you can maybe back away from that. You can have some counterplay.
I've got Saitan's Rampart, and so you like slow him and almost bait him in. Like, there's different things you can do. The accuracy changes before you get slowed, and it's like trying to like, you can't even aim your gun. But, I guess my only gripe is like, awesome. There was a massive problem, and you made the problem less. You didn't make the game better. You just made it less bad.
Well, can I say, I played a lot of Iron Banner last night too, and yeah, it's so noticeable. A lot less stasis, a lot more light. Stasis is still hot and heavy. Like, especially Revenant Hunters, they've just migrated to Shatter Dive, which is very good still, right? Yeah. You put on, especially like the Frosties with that grenade, you're getting that back so fast, and the aspect of winter still makes that grenade better. You Shatter Dive, it's still great. But it's not like if one or two things are great, that's fine. The problem was that everything was great.
That's right.
Every single ability, the nades were S+ tier, the melees were S+ tier, the super was S+ tier, the movement was S+ tier. It's like, brother.
And no
downsides. Some point we gotta calm it down. The one now I'm gonna ask you. I think that this nerf was a great idea, and I think that an emergency button had to be pressed. But I am kind of annoyed, and I made a video on this saying like, dude, these changes hurt the PvE stasis quite a bit. Like, especially the Behemoth Titan, because they changed how the slide works, right? You have to run and then slide. Yeah. So one of the best parts about using it in PvE, one of the only reasons to legitimately use it was because it had great anti-ad capabilities. You'd throw a glacier grenade and slide right into it and shatter it. And then if you had some like shattering ice synergies, you could get your melee back right away. Like, actually a very powerful build. But now you can't. You have to like throw the grenade and like run around and like set it up. So it just feels worse to play. And like, I understand they had to do this to save the freaking game, but it is kind of annoying. It's like, man, like it was not overpowered in the slightest for PvE, and yet it still took a hit. And it just like brings up that age-old argument of like, are they gonna have to separate these sandboxes? It just keeps causing problems.
They'll never fix it. They'll never get it right, because I mean, the thing is like, they have to, like, they probably have to have a lot of these balance changes tied directly. I mean, there's so many trivial things in this game where it's like, if you change one thing, it'll break something else. I don't even know how they would do it where it's like, this activity, the slide is instant. This activity, it isn't in it. Like, I don't even know how they would code it differently. Like,
I can tell you right now, I don't think you will ever see them do different sandbox tunings on that level between PvE and PvP. I don't think it will ever happen. They've stated before in open forums, hey, we are very committed to the idea that your guardian is your guardian is your guardian, and the way you play here is the same way you play there and the same way you play over here. Gambit, PvP, PvE. It's all the same. And I don't think they're gonna change that.
I agree, but like, do you guys see where I'm coming from? Or and some people in the chat are like, well, why would you even play Behemoth Titan? Like, you're gonna play Bubble anyways. Like, yeah, that's my point. Like, the small amount of people who just played it because they enjoyed it, they liked shattering in PvE. It was not even close to overpowered. They logged on one day and their favorite build is worse because a bunch of PvP players couldn't calm the hell down. Like, it's just kind of but actually, it's like you guys had to spaz out for a top of the leaderboards where winning doesn't matter in most game modes. Like, do we really have? No, I'm obviously.
Oh no, I thought you meant the other way. Like, we were all complaining about stasis.
No, I'm obviously memeing on you guys, but it is kind of a sad thing. It's like, you log on. There's so many people that don't play PvP at all, and it's like, you log on and your stuff is worse, and all of them are worse. Like, the tracking for Shadebinder, right? Like, that matters quite a bit, because if you're playing like a higher level content and you're like far away, and the shade, I've seen people use Shadebinder in Grandmasters because of the Bleak Watcher turret that can like spawn trap and freeze champions.
Yeah, it's actually pretty solid.
Actually really good. But like, now if obviously you're staying further away, if you try to hit someone, if you try to lock on, there's no tracking anymore. The tracking breaks after a certain amount of time. So like, that's super. It got way worse. So like, dude, it's just like a whole. I want to make it clear.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is that time. The battle lines are being drawn, and we are honored once again to be presented with not only the 3 best guilds in the world, but 3 of their best talkers as well, minus Roger Brown, who will be here, but, you know, he's the way he is, and that can't be helped. We are going to be joined by Limit Max, Echoes Roger Brown, and Pieces is Bass Do is going to be joining us as well. Let's take a look at all these chaps. Hi, guys.
Hello.
Hello. Fucking hell, enthusiasm. What? Jesus Christ.
Well, how can I follow
for the people? Hello, welcome.
Hello.
Nice to see you. We have still no announcement date. When we tried to plan this sit-down get-together with everybody, we were kind of like, yeah, they're probably going to announce it like last week. Gives us 2 weeks-ish before the patch comes out. Yet we're still here with no patch date, but we are reasonably confident, aren't we, guys, that it is coming pretty soon?
Yep.
Yep, we think so. We think it is going to be coming. So we have a number of things to go through because this raid has a lot of big names in it. We've got Kel'Thuzad in there. We've got Sylvanas in there. Garrosh is making his appearance. Now, obviously, they're going to be working super hard not to spoil any tactics here. I'm sure that is on the mind of every player here of what their preparations are. But thankfully, they can't hide everything from me. And I have been through their WoW progress to see what they might be up to, and we'll be poking some questions that way. I think the first thing we've got to ask, if we start off with the current number 1, Max, Complexity Limit, this has been a long-ass 9.0. How has it been for your players? Like, keeping that motivation up, dealing with just... How have you kept them going this long?
It hasn't been too bad.
You had the gamer gummies, didn't you? You did it.
What?
You snuck it in there.
No, I didn't.
You snuck it in there.
No, I okay, look. It hasn't been too
bad.
bad.
You had the gamer gummies, didn't you? You did too, and we'll be poking some questions that way. I think the first thing we've got to ask, if we start off with the current number 1, Max, Complexity Limit, this has been a long-ass 9.0. How has it been for your players? Like, keeping that motivation up, dealing with just... How have you kept them going this long?
It hasn't been too bad.
You had the gamer gummies, didn't you? You did it.
What?
You snuck it in there.
No, I didn't.
You snuck it in there.
No, I. Okay, look. I need my gummies. But okay, here. So WoW's been a seasonal game for a while. So what a lot of people do in top guilds is you do progression, and then there's a few people that do stuff outside of it, like PvP or Mythic Plus or whatever. But you know, we're pretty used to doing what we have to do, and then we have our 2 days of farm a week, and then after that we just play other games. So there's not really a huge drawback to having long patches for us, because you know we play the game for a specific reason. Like, it makes sense why the rest of the game is pretty fed up with it, understandably. But I mean, we just like raid log, so it doesn't really matter.
How much have you guys been raiding? Like on a weekly basis? You've been 2, 3?
Runs or days? We never raid more than 2 days. Usually 4 hours a night, 5 hours a
Mhm.
night for farm.
That's fair. Over to you, Roger. How's your guys been?
Yeah, the motivation definitely. I mean, it depends what you're talking about, right? When it's time to raid on live servers, the motivation, the longer the farm goes, the lower it drops. So now we're at the stage where people are like, "Man, can I skip this raid?" You know, they're not really interested. But when it comes to PTR, everyone is excited to try out the new bosses and come up with strategies, try to prove why their class is the best and why they should totally be in every boss. So it's a shift. It's almost like it's
Like
two different
hunters,
people.
Roger. Huh?
I mean,
How the
I
hunters
don't know. You know, I mean, I'm glad that I didn't prepare a couple of other classes myself. Yeah, I mean, I guess I have to loot that bow. I don't know what to say. Yeah, it's not looking too great, but I don't know if we want to diverge the conversation. Yeah, so there's definitely I don't know if it's the same. I'm assuming it's the same for both the other guilds as well, where every time it's live raids, it's like, you know, oh great. Especially if you start wiping, then Jesus. So
yeah,
we've
farm
actually
wipes are
started.
miserable.
Yeah.
We've started cutting down.
Which boss
Sorry?
has been the one that you're still wiping on after all these months that still catches you out?
So
And why is it Artificer?
So we did something really smart. We realized Artificer keep wiping. So what we came up with was, let's FF on the third box option every week. And instead we only kill 6 bosses out of the 10 and get the 2 options only. So we kill Strickwing, then we activate the skip, and then we go Huntsman and Hungering, 3 easy bosses, and then straight onto Sludge Fist and Stone Legion and Denatrius. So that makes it a lot more tolerable. You skip a lot of trash, but yeah, I mean, we still wiped quite a bit. I would say, like, we had a period of time recently where we didn't wipe on any boss except Sire, just silly mistakes here and there. But actually, after the nerf as well that they just did, it's been one shots pretty much. So, yeah.
That's fair. Bastu, how about you guys over there?
I mean, it's pretty similar. I think the only thing that keeps, like, something that definitely keeps motivation going is, like, making sure that people in the guild are playing games together outside of WoW, right? I mean, obviously, the raid motivation for current content is always going to suck towards the end of a long-ass patch. But, I mean, it's like
Those
TBC.
small guys?
Yeah, I mean, well, yeah, it's like TBC just came out, and, like, half the guild are playing in pieces on Gehennas. So we're still all playing together with a few Echo members littered in there as well.
Oh, is there teamwork going on here?
There's not teamwork, but yeah, I mean,
Ah.
they're in the same guild at least. So
Having conversations, trading
Well,
players.
yeah.
Is that what's
Yeah.
going on?
yeah, it's actually we had some interesting conversation. Oh, I think Roger knows where I'm about to go with this.
No, I'm not sure. I just want to say that there are 2 factions right now in Echo. Some people playing on US servers and some people playing on EU servers in Classic. So we split up because people have like different friends or whatever, and we're not really taking it seriously. So we had that divide, I guess. So some, I think the EU people generally play with a lot of people. Yeah.
Okay, the clicks are farming. That's good to see. I was going through a lot of the 9.1 stuff recently, and there is, in terms of preparation, you guys have a ludicrous amount of characters. You have, I think Limit has something like, what, 225 druids or something like that? Like, there's a lot of big characters here, but we're about to step into the 9.1 grind, like that normal week, the heroic week, that crazy shit there. Are you guys getting the island shirts out again? Is this going to be a big, heavy heroic week? Because it looks like it could be a bit scary if you really wanted to push. I'll throw it over to Roger.
Sorry, can you repeat exactly what was the question? When you said 25 druids, I just blacked out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay. So I did too. I did too. He said 225 druids, and then I was like, "Whoa, that's a lot of druids.
Oh,
We don't have that many
25,
druids."
25.
Okay, but then I thought he. Okay, you were saying, yeah. I mean, they're just like farm characters. It's all good.
Druids are OP for farm, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
But
what's the major? You've had all this preparation with gearing up all these characters. These are all ready. But when we've obviously got new gems, we've got shards of domination coming, new legendaries, recrafting the legendaries, new conduits, all that kind of stuff. What do you think your heroic week's going to look like, boys? That's the question.
I don't think it's gone, Max.
I don't think it's going to be too much different. So like the prospect of doing splits, because you guys know the difference between like all of BFA's raids, and this last one was last expansion. You had coins, right, and you had the ability to craft like the NG helm for Azerite and stuff like that. So if you're talking about like the increased workload and the increased amount of splits you do, it's kind of a different thought process, because the first week of Castle Nathri, even though they buffed loot now, the first heroic week of Nathri was bugged. And it was dropping the same loot that it does now. So like the heroic week should basically be the same. I mean, obviously you could do stuff for optimization there, but PvP is now, you know, still pretty important. Mythic Plus will be decently important in that week. I think it's it's going to be, it's suggested that it would be 229 upgrades over your non 233 pieces for whatever you don't get in raid, but then obviously like you can upgrade past that with other stuff. So I think it'll roughly be the same. I don't think these weeks are really going to be anything, and they haven't been anything like BFA. Like BFA was just massive grinding, but usually you grinded so hard in the first couple weeks of the patch that you didn't have to deal with it for Heroic Week. But I mean, I think Heroic Week should mirror pretty close to what was done last time, except for Echo. I think, at least I don't think Echo has as many characters as they had last time. But
9 mages, 8 DKs.
yeah, no, we
Different strategy this time, Roger.
So we definitely went a bit crazy in the first year. I do want to say that back then it made a bit more sense to also go a bit further with the amount of characters, because right now you have apparently 25 druids who have all the gear ready to go.
They're for farm, Roger.
I know. Okay, yeah. But when you start an expansion, you have 0 gear. So any piece that drops has way bigger impact compared to upgrading from tier to tier. Especially when right now I'm guessing so many characters are fully optimized, basically best in slot. Thanks for Titan Forging being removed. God bless. So now it doesn't make as much sense because the difference is not going to be as big. So we've dropped down. Not everyone had 9 characters. We had 6 characters, most of the players for the first year. Now we've dropped down to 4 characters. And not for everyone. Some people even might do a few less, but as a general average of the guild. So we are cutting down, making better use of the heroic week as well. It was very stressful the previous year. It looks like we're still gonna have to do PvP. It's not gonna be as crazy of a reward compared to the last time, but it's still gonna be something.
tää Klontsa.
Moi brethren. Kaikki afkaan. Oikeesti.
No kaikki on näköjään afkissa. Tai jossain.
Se on totta. Ja meni nukkumaan.
and yeah, with the Corthia, or I don't know if I'm pronounced correctly, like the new zone. Who knows how much we have to blast it out there? We'll see.
Well,
Yeah,
it's up to the guilds to basically decide whether it's worth doing it at all, because I mean, there's obviously a cut-off right for where it becomes worth it. I mean, you know, if it's a lot of time to spend doing it and you're not actually going to get any of the rewards, they've changed the rep recently. So
That's a really good point, because like I feel like a lot of people are like, well, this is possible to do, but you know, anytime, I'm not talking about anything in Corthia, just like stuff in the past, like specifically with Socket's last raid, you know, you had to ask yourself like, okay, is it going to be worth us, you know, doing like a world tour in the Maw for an hour and a half at the beginning of every progression day to make sure that, you know, on the 6th day or the beginning of the 2nd week, everyone has full sockets, right? Because like time has a lot of value as well. So anytime stuff like that comes up, you just have to weigh your decision. You just have to make good decisions, and sometimes stuff can be worth it and sometimes it won't.
You guys are smirking so much when you're telling these things. You know that, right?
No, I mean,
I'm just. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I think
I
think the thing with every guild, right, is like it's something that basically what Max alluded to at the start was like Max had to decide with his guild like whether it was worth doing it at the start of every progress day. It's like making that decision again for Cortia. It's like funny because you know, it's basically. I think it's quite a big factor in like you know how you spend your time in the day. And so obviously no other guild wants to let the other guild know what they're going to do with their time during the day. I mean, I don't know. Right now it looks like it's not like super achievable, but you know, maybe someone can prove us wrong, and then it becomes worth it to spend time in Corthia as opposed to you know going over tactics or doing PvP or with the class and stuff like that. But that's something we just don't exactly let each other know. You know, we're not actively talking about that and being like, "Yo, you should probably go and do this today." But
yeah, I was just smirking as well because you know you brought me back to like what was it 6 months ago when we had so many debates. Like it almost felt like every day we were all on voice and we were like, can we get the socket? Are we stopping? Are we stopping? Someone tell us to stop.
Same.
So it's just a gamble at the end of the day. I remember how we tried to get as much reputation as possible, min-maxing everything. It was kind of a bonding experience. It was kind of fun, not gonna lie. But
Brought
definitely
us together.
Yeah. We just went around 40-man raids, doing everything. So definitely some good memories. But obviously, we would prefer to not have to do any of that. We would also probably prefer not to do any of the PvP and just focus on the bosses, clear our raids, and just chill out, right? Because right now, the way it happens, like you will always use the heroic week. The matter is how do you use it, as the other said as well. And I think it's way better mentally if you use it to just look at the bosses, you know, go in heroic and just test mechanics and just practice, prepare yourself, rather than saying, okay, let's go 3 hours into the Maw. It's just, you know, it brings you better into the mentality of let's go for mythic. So hopefully we won't have to do anything. Yeah, it's up to Blizzard.
It is so satisfying sitting in the heroic day for like the whole of Monday and Tuesday, not having to do anything else except just look at bosses. Yeah, if you can sit in there, I guess for an A it'd be Sunday and Monday, but when you're completely done and you can just relax and just you know only focus on the bosses, that's like the sweet spot, right? And so getting there without having to do the other stuff is obviously optimal. But
Dude, I feel like we weren't relaxed at all last time. Like I don't know if maybe you're saying like in the future, like because you're right. Like obviously the grinding is just so much less this expansion than it used to be, but it's still like when we were on Sunday Monday we were like not panic gearing, but we were like just finishing everyone's 2100 and like it was like full on. Like I mean we obviously had time for a walkthrough, but it was like half a day, and even then every minute people were in there they're like, I need all this stuff to do.
Yeah, no, more to my point is that you don't want to have to do that, right? You want to be able to spend like the last day just not doing any maintenance of characters and stuff, being able to, or at least we do. You know, the dream is to be able to have Tuesday. No one has to do any PvP, any Mythic Plus, anything. You can just sit in the heroic raid for 12 hours and just talk about bosses and do nothing but that. But yeah, that's like an ideal heroic week for me, at least, is having the last day to walk through the bosses. But
How does Pieces do it? Do you guys give yourself a day off during that heroic week?
We normally try and aim for the last day to basically be raid day. It's really hard. So this is something that we actually benefit from being a day behind. We gauge how hard heroic is, right, based off limit or other NA guilds, and then from that we're like, okay, do we want to do our splits on Wednesday? Do we want to start PvP on Wednesday? But the problem with starting PvP on Wednesday is all the rank 1 tryhards play, so it's hard to get rating. There's like so many things to factor in that, ideally you'd have all your splits done in one day, all your PvP done in one day, all your Mythic Plus done in one day, and then, have the rest of the week for stuff that isn't to do with maintenance. But yeah, I mean, we try and leave the last day to a walkthrough, but it doesn't always end up like that. There's always people who need to do, I need 315s, I need 200 more rating, and yeah.
Yeah, I think this is like a common lie that we tell ourselves. We're like making the plan, and we're like, okay, Tuesday is free day, relax and catch up on sleep. It's almost like when you say, I'll just take a nap for 10 minutes, and then you wake up 2 hours later. So it never happens. I remember myself on Tuesday, I was still trying to get legs from Plaguefall. I ran like 20 Plaguefalls on Tuesday, never got them, and I was like, okay, I'm done. I need to sleep. So it's
no bow, no legs.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, although I did enjoy linking you my hunter weapons every time I got new ones and spare ones. Always good. Okay, let's move on to talk about the raid a bit. So you've all done the testing. We have 10 big boy bosses coming up. Some big names in there. Before we get into any details on those, what did you think overall? Was there any scuffed testing, any stories from the testing where it was bugged? I saw lots of the Eye of the Jailer flying around the platform, seemingly looking for his dinner or something like that. But what did you think? Because it's a big environmental raid, this one. Like, the very set layout of rooms, a lot of visual stuff going on.
I think we can all confirm.
I
think we can all confirm what Scribe said, and that Sylvanas is definitely the best boss ever released.
She's perfect. Yep.
Oh?
Yeah, no, I think Sylvanas is actually a really interesting one. I mean, I think if you're a viewer, right, and you just watch this one kill of Sylvanas, like, you don't have to watch any of the progress or partake in it. Like, it's a really cool fight. Like, it tells a story from like start to finish. But like, if you have to progress that, and you have to do the first phase for 5 minutes, 200 times, you don't really like. I mean, it gets to the point where it just becomes like boring. It's like, Stone Legion Generals again, where you're just going through these phases and it just feels repetitive. I know Sylvanas will be very interesting because obviously, it's definitely a different boss. But yeah, I don't know. I can't say it's the best boss I've ever played. The raid in general is cool though. It feels like the aesthetic at first felt like ICC up until the last few bosses, which is I don't know, throwback to a pretty cool aesthetic raid. Yeah, I mean the raid's interesting and it's very top ended again, in that all the hard bosses are firmly placed at the end. The first like 6 or 5, I guess.
Do you feel it's linear in that way?
I mean, linear if you count like 1 or 2 pulls for the first 5 bosses, and then a massive jump. Well, actually, I guess Guardian. It depends on how the DPS race fares, but yeah, I mean, I don't. It will definitely be a lot harder towards the end. I don't know if it's linear. I think the last 3 have potential. Like Fate Scribe, Kel'Thuzad, Sylvanas have potential to all be quite high pulls. Fate Scribe especially is a very interesting one. But I mean, it's kind of hard to tell, right? Based off testing, we test 1 hour on these bosses. So
if we come over to Max, we saw loads of tweets coming out from members of all 3 of your guilds that it was just too easy, like in a lot of the testing. Like, you were crushing these bosses. Well, and then we saw last week Blizzard messing a lot with the bosses and turning them up. What was the reaction to that in you guys?
I never really think too much about the ease of tuning on really any fight, because I think the purpose of testing is to make it clearly easier than it will be, so most guilds get to further phases and actually test the thing. I think the common misconception with a lot of testing is that it's for tuning or like class balance, but I think in reality it's literally so they get enough sample size to see if their mechanics work. So I've never really looked too much into that at all. I think you can pretty much look at a fight and discern how hard it's going to be, outside of like a few rare hard tuning scenarios that might change that. And then you obviously think about whatever could be hard on the fight, what those timers are, what classes are good for that, and you just know to deal with it. But in reality, the first 7 bosses of last raid were dead in 10 hours. So, you know, you can probably look at the first 7 bosses and be like, okay, that stuff's going to get rinsed real quick. So, if anything, this raid maybe has one more boss in Blizzard's new philosophy. Because last raid, they clearly did that, right? Like when you got to Council, it was a step, kind of a step up. It was still only 12 pulls, but like Sludge Fist was like the clear. They looked all of the top guilds in the face and they were like, we're not going to tune this for the whole community. We want to see if you guys have the damage for this week 1. And it was honestly like the Sludge Fist was probably done about as perfectly as it could be tuned, in my opinion, for being a week 1 boss. So if Guardian ends up being that, then they would have shifted the difficulty or the idea of that like philosophy. They would be shifting that 1 boss earlier than 7. So instead of the 7th or the 8th boss, it would be the 7th boss. And that just entirely depends on Guardian's tuning. Guardian is literally Sludgefist 2.0, where basically it will only be difficult by the tuning of it. So hopefully that's how that works. But as far as like bosses being easy, like yeah, the first 6-7 bosses were pretty easy to figure out and do in testing on Mythic. But if you think about what they end up being on live, which is all of them being dead in less than 10 hours, then that's kind of what you grow to expect, right?
Mm-hmm. Same for you guys, Roger?
Yeah, I think quite spot on. But I do want to say that I think generally, with the exception probably of the Eye of the Jailer, which is a little bit of a weird one, not gonna lie. I think the rest of the fights are pretty, like, I enjoy when we played them. I kind of enjoyed them. I think a bit more than maybe the previous year. So I think overall the mechanics are pretty interesting. I was trying to think like what is the difference in philosophy. I'm not sure what it is exactly. Maybe it's just random, that the mechanics I think are a bit more clear cut maybe, right? So you have to deal with something, you can figure it out, you go for it. I don't think there's as much randomness maybe, but I might just be completely off when we actually go into the Mythic and I realize like, oh, this small ability that I didn't really pay attention to actually messes everything up. Also, I think there were some bugs definitely, so I don't know once they fix them how that will affect the fight. But overall, I do think it looks like a solid raid. I'm wondering if with what both of them said, if you know how Sludgefist was like the DPS boss, like, and that's where a lot of people got stuck. Now that boss is basically Guardian, so I'm wondering if they kind of shifted a bit behind and they're actually gonna tune Guardian hard as well, or they're gonna make the tuning really easy and then everyone's just killing it in the first
he's
day.
exactly right.
Yeah, because definitely the last 3 bosses definitely are a step up. The bosses before, I mean, Pagesmith might cause a bit of trouble for some disorganized groups, but
it's like playing Fall Guys in WoW.
Yeah, it's almost like the gate.
It is a bit.
It's almost like the gatekeeper is the guardian, so it's really up to Blizzard to decide how hard they want to tune that. I think it would be awesome if it's not the walkover though, because it will allow you to min-max the DPS even more, I think, compared to Sludgefist, because I think the mechanics of Guardian are quite simpler.
Well, let's before we get too far deep into these individual bosses, let's have a look at them then, because then the viewers can actually see some footage of what it is we're talking about. We've got it all set up here, so let's kick off with the Tower Group bastard. They're removing him from Torghast, obviously. Now he's here, he's big, he's bold, he's beautiful, and he's got some trolly buffs to annoy your friends with.
Yeah. It was a dark. I mean,
what say you to this? As an opening raid boss, what do you think is the first opening? Welcome to the Sanctum Dom.
I think it's going to be very pug friendly. I will say that. I think it's a very easy boss as a starter. It's definitely a lot easier than stuff like in the Eternal Palace, where the first boss was a bit of a cock block.
Shivara wasn't easy.
Yeah, I mean Shivara was definitely hard for pugs for quite a while. Yeah, I don't think it requires like loads of coordination or anything. I think it's pretty chill, and obviously, you know, having the powers, like rolling up into that boss is alright. I mean, I don't know. I think it'll be a very easy boss. I think probably the top 100 guilds will take one pull without any super mistakes.
Yeah, let's do some pull count guesses. What do you reckon? This is a one shot for all 3 of you, or what? Who's going to crack first and say 2?
No. I think it's a
1-1-1.
One.
Yeah.
It's one of the easier. It's one of the easier first bosses in memory. I think it's probably one-shottable by most groups, even without anima powers.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Scarper on easy. Scarper on. What a lad that thing was.
Yeah.
That was
I think
very
it's
easy, boss.
it's also because when Blizzard does some funky stuff, like now with anima powers, like it's RNG what powers you get. It's like some powers are really good, some powers really bad. Like they're not gonna tune the boss where you have to play really good when you have this, you know, non-usual stuff. Yeah, well, they'll probably just, yeah. Like I don't think they will tune it way harder than it was in the testing, and it was really easy.
Alright, let's have a look at the Eye of the Jailer then. So, the Eye of the Jailer is the one that seemed the buggiest during testing. They've got this, like, Zul'Harak mechanic. You're going to be splitting the raid up, you're going to be using grappling hooks and things like that. What are your thoughts on this one, Max?
Well, the only consistent bug on this was that the lady that was throwing chains down and trying to drag you off, she just, like, wasn't really working. But, I mean, that doesn't matter because that mechanic doesn't matter anyway, so that's not like that actually affected the testing. And to my knowledge, there was no other frequent bugs. There was one that was pretty funny. I wish you actually had a clip of this, but there's like a streamable of the boss like flying off the map and then coming back and then starting its beam, and then it like clotheslines the whole raid instantly. Like so like there was like a little bit of buggy movement, but we never saw that. I mean, yeah, it's a normal second boss. It's got like a little split up the raid mechanic that's very easy. There's like multiple ways to deal with it where even a pug would just copy a strat and never wipe. So yeah, I mean, it's just a, you know, it's your huntsman. It's probably easier than huntsman because there's no weird like immunity thing, or if you do that strat at least.
I hope you don't bring pet classes because pets don't like that fight. I mean, Roger can probably tell you. Pets on that fight don't work very well.
Every time you can actually see it on the screen right now as well. Every time the boss would like go away for the intermission, if you didn't pull your pet back, it would just go there and just float in the air. So you had to like pull the pet back or dismiss it and resummon it. It's great, yeah. But I think it's also, I don't know if has there ever been a boss which is on rails basically like this one, because basically if you're a tank, you can't just move the boss on the platform. It basically does like this, right? And it's like on rails. And I think that's.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah.
It's a little weird. Yeah.
But it can freely move, right? Because those are the bugs we've seen. Like Max pointed out, is he does decide to go for a walk every now and again. It didn't happen in your testing, but I have seen clips like you said of him just going on a complete walk around. Maybe when he detaches from the rail.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, maybe it just crashes like a train off and just. I think it's intended though that it stays on the rail. Like that's. But it's just a weird one. Yeah, as I said, I think this is definitely the boss which I'm not really feeling too excited about in the raid, especially with the grapple being bugged. I don't know how that's going to play out. And the one thing I will say is that I'm not sure. Obviously, some guilds will one-shot this, just like Huntsman, for example. But it does have the potential of one person like wiping the raid basically by making a mistake. So it's definitely gonna. It's not necessarily hard. It's just prone to insta wipes by one person messing it up.
So 2 pulls for Echo, 1 for pieces in the middle. Is that what I'm hearing?
I would say 2, depending on the players we have in the raid, because you obviously put the people.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean you've just taken Canucks from us, so if you put Canucks in on either jailer, I think maybe it'll be 2 pulls.
Yeah, the problem is you don't go for the optimal setup here. You go for the gear on this early boss here. So who knows? Maybe this boss drops some red paladin weapon. So your hands are tied at that point, you know.
Oh, so you're saying if you were to happen to have a certain red paladin in your raid, then wipes could ensue.
It's just an example. I mean, it's
a very specific red paladin.
Yeah, just an example. That's a crying shame. Let's move on then a little quickly to the 9, which looked like they were trying to paragon to the Claxidus, but much easier version. It didn't seem to contain too much that was too stressful for anybody on the 9. Max, what did you think of the 9?
Similar kind of thing, like your Huntsman hungering type of early boss. I actually, to be fair, I actually think it's. I mean, obviously it'll get killed fast because it's an early boss, but I think it's like one of the more fun early bosses in a while. Like actually, probably more than the last couple raids. It's got like a bit going on. I wish they would have made it a little harder on Mythic. Like as you're seeing in the footage right now, like the massacre stuff going through. There's like this thing it does calls where like, you know, the whole 9 thing is there's like 3 main bosses you fight and there's 6 more to do mechanics. And when it does the, I forget the exact mechanic, but when it just spawns them normally, it spawns like extra on Mythic. But when it does the like recall thing that the main boss does, it spawns like the same amount it did on Heroic. So it basically just feels like another one where they could definitely do, you know, something crazy like all 6 at one time, except for the very annoying bubble shield. And it would be doable, but then again, it's like a second boss, right? So, or could be. I think it could be, right? Isn't the 9 and Eye of the Jailer both a potential second boss? So, I think either one of those is fine. It's in my opinion, it's actually a top tier early boss because Blizzard's never going to, you know, they're never going to make the second boss in a raid like really hard for the top guilds, right? Like that's not reality. So for what it is, I think it's great.
I'd also like to know if you just think it's fun as well, because that's what obviously a lot of our viewers aren't in the top guilds. But what they would like to know is, are these bosses fun? Are they interesting? Like the Eye of the Jailer, I think you alluded to there, but it's not particularly
The first
fun.
2, no. This one, yes.
Yeah.
First
This
is
would be
probably
the first
fun
kind
to
of
get some
engaging boss.
pimped out powers, but short of that, I mean,
It's about as fun as for how long your tank leaves the boss in the damage reduction.
That's true. I think actually, now that you said this as well, Max, I think probably I would have liked maybe, because if you check the dungeon journal, there's so many abilities on this boss, right? So they put a lot of effort into it. So I'm wondering if they misplaced it into the raid, because this could have been maybe like the 5th boss or something. Because it feels like there are cool mechanics, there's a lot of things going on, but they're just undertuned quite a bit. So then it's like, a good example, I'm not sure if they will change this, right? But there's a pushback mechanic where you need to run in, and there is a pull in that you need to run away from, right? And that is very undertuned. It should be a bit more, in my opinion. So I can almost feel like this boss could have been way harder with different tuning and also enjoyable to play. It almost feels like a waste.
I wish they'd swap it with Painsmith.
Yeah, I kind of agree. Like, it's a good boss, but it's one with enough potential to be later in the raid where they could realistically make it harder.
They'll swap it into almost a Klaxi position, right, and give it all that stuff.
Yeah.
That's what the 9th boss or something in there.
I think 12th.
I'm a bit young for that.
That was a huge raid.
Yeah.
Too young for that. That scares me. Let's go, Roger.
I think it's the 13 bosses.
Yeah, it was a big raid, that one. Let's go on to the Remnant of Ner'zhul. We're going to be knocking armor off and bouncing around a platform like a pinball over at Ner'zhul. This is another a lot of interesting ideas start popping out now. Like, they got kind of creative with a lot of these bosses, and this is one of them. Roger, what do you think of Ner'zhul?
Definitely an interesting one, again. Exactly what you said is kind of what I wanted to express earlier. Maybe I didn't do the correct thing, but yeah, there's like cool mechanics, right? Definitely a funny moment must have been for all the guilds testing this on PTR is when you do Heroic, and you're like, okay, this knockback, okay, cool. And then you're thinking, maybe more people will get the debuff, so you have to like ping pong a little bit. And then you go in the first try, you dispel, and then half your raid is off the platform because the knock is like twice or 3 times as big. So it will be a bit of a surprise, I think, for a lot of guilds. But there's definitely ways to outplay it. I don't think there's anything necessarily bad with this boss. I would say it's a little bit unfun. There's one mechanic which is unfun, where you have to pick up the ball and like kick it out of the platform. So whoever has to do that is like, well, great, I guess. I mean, yeah. So apart from that, pretty decent. Was an okay middle of the raid boss. This boss, for example, I'm glad that it's not really later on, because I think it would get a bit more annoying. Yeah.
Same for you guys, Max?
Yeah, the testing on this was fine. It had like criminally low amounts of HP, even for like a testing, I think. And then I think the one thing that what was not working on this testing, it was the pools, right? The pools weren't spawning when you dispelled.
True. Yes.
I don't
Yeah,
think
think-
I don't think that like really, because I don't think that's that impactful to the fight for how it'll be done. But that was at least one thing for it being bugged. I just want to say one thing. I won't take too much time on it, but I think in general the testings were less bugged than they normally are. I actually think the testings were run pretty well. They're, you know, I mean, obviously Nath 3 was crazy because like they tested like mythic counts like 4 times or something, but the whole raid in general was actually like pretty good. Like the Ashara, or not Ashara, sorry, I always call her Ashara. Sylvanas was like the main one where like at least her not having an animation for Windrunner was kind of a problem. At least for like a lot of people watching it, it didn't seem like something that would be very good. And it was also just kind of visually confusing. But I mean, the fight was fine. Like really, like I mean, you guys don't remember like when we first pulled Naz off on testing, like it was sideways. Like the boss was literally sideways.
Yeah, well, I
It was
actually
upside down at one point. Yeah.
So yeah, I think the testing overall is pretty good. Not too much to say on this fight though. It's a early-ish fight, kind of weird, kind of okay. I don't imagine.
actually-
I haven't thought about it much at all because I don't think it really matters.
You mean this
Got a picture
this
of
boss,
upside
right?
down Naz off.
Yeah.
I do. Yeah. I remember zoning into that on the testing and just looking up and seeing him on the ceiling. I was like, I'm sure how this is gonna go. I'm sure it's gonna be fine. Okay then.
I want to say, sorry, just because I don't know, like, I think it's cool we talk about the boss, but maybe a lot of the viewers also, they don't actually go to do mythic testings, etc. So some things that got changed, just like as the funny thing, is that it used to be that the orbs, you have to kill them. It used to be that they took normal damage, and then if you debuff them, they took way extra damage. And thankfully, for anyone who cares about the damage meter, they changed that. So now they take normal damage. Otherwise, the damage meter, like you would have a lot of DPS for it. And I know, like a lot of guilds care about that. So they fixed that, thankfully. It's not really gonna impact you too much. Okay.
You would never pad the meters, would you, Roger?
No, of course not.
Especially not as a hunter. Hunters are notoriously known for not padding at all.
Yeah, priority DPS, always. Yeah,
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, right down the line. I like that. That's good stuff. Let's see Garrosh. So Garrosh, Soul Render, Dormazane. We've all got very edgy names in here. Painsmith. Let's see Garrosh, all shackled up, doing his... Well, he's just getting beat up, really. He's getting tortured during this fight. We've got this kind of like Heigen-type dance going on here. Some old school ideas mixed with some new, more modern mechanics. Bastu, what did you think of this one?
I mean, yeah, it's cool. I definitely don't think it's like a hard boss or anything. I think this is another one that's probably just going to be one pull and then we're done. I mean, you can predict where everything's going to be. So, I mean, it just trivializes the fight, basically. I mean, it's definitely cool. I think, yeah, I think it'll be interesting for pugs if they get this far. It's definitely one where you want a little bit more coordination. But yeah.
Those Argus circles gave me PTSD.
Yeah, that definitely was a throwback that, yeah, I was hoping they'd change that, but yeah. I mean, it's a cool fight. I don't think it's, like, super exciting or anything, but it, like, fits well in, like, the 4th, 5th boss
We're quite
category.
late now. This is, like, boss number 6, so we are getting later into the raid. Yeah.
I think
The
Soul
feels
Render's
much easier than others.
It's 5, right?
Yeah, Soul Render's 5, because Painsmith's 6.
Yeah, true,
Yeah, you might. I don't know the exact boss order. Everyone always makes flowcharts. I'm not entirely sure if they're accurate, but I think it'll be either 5th or 4th. You could maybe do Remnant or Soul Render. I don't quite know, but yeah, the fight's honestly surprising that it's. See, this is where it should be swapped with the 9. I feel like this boss is an absolute joke. It might even be the easiest boss in the raid. It seems like they made it because they were like, we're gonna do a dance again like Nax, remember guys? And then they just made a fight like that, didn't give it much thought, and it's missing a lot. And yeah, maybe they'll add something to it. Also, we refer to it as Horny Garage. They took all of it out of the journal, but they used to have all kinds of crazy sexual stuff in the journal about it. It was like when that safety dance thing started, the journal said word for word, Soul Render goes to work on Garrosh, and the whole fight is him being chained up, and yeah, it's pretty wild. Some Blizzard dev, whoever made that, was going through
Seems to
some
have read
stuff.
that
So
quite a lot, Max. You're a big fan.
Oh, that's where the voice came from, right? And then he goes to work on him, he's chained up.
Yeah, pretty wild fight. Yeah, it's super easy though, unfortunately. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I kind of stopped caring too much about the mid-range stuff because like it is what it is, you know. Like they're never gonna make those fights hard, and it makes complete sense why they won't.
I mean, we looked at Ashbane when Ashbane was that wasn't some defensive jungle, but something that was kind of a big step up, right, from everything else.
Huge fan of that, the mid-raid wall, but I don't know if the WoW community as a whole is a fan of the Gore Fiend, the Ashvane, the like mid-raid super hard boss, because I feel like it kind of gatekeeps stuff behind it, and even though I would love a fight like that, I think there's a reason they're not in the game a lot.
Yeah. Like the Gore Fiend especially killed so many guilds, right? I mean that's the annihilator.
Ashframe was not easy at all. Ashframe was for like any guild outside of the top echelons. Like, yeah, it was definitely not easy. So,
Let's do some...
I just
Go on, Roger.
I just want to say something that I don't know if a lot of people have noticed. You guys all played back in Argus, right? So I have a strong suspicion that whoever made these boss, like the garage fight, was definitely designed from there. Because if you think about it, you have the ads coming in, and like another ad buffing them, and you need to like separate them and whatever, which is literally what happened on Agramar. Okay, like basically. And then you also have the visual of the two people getting these runes underneath them, which are the exact same graphic from Argus Mythic. So it threw me back.
Yeah.
Sorry?
That actually makes complete
the
sense.
slices aren't far off either. Yeah, where you take a big pizza
So
slice.
he's talking about and then he's referring to the actual like Diva, which is I believe the exact same model as the T1 Argus.
It's 100% the same.
Yep, it is.
Oh, it was all the way through the fight, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also had a healer run at me with it.
I remember if you had like 2 melee that had that like debuff on the P3 of Argus. And then 1 melee had to stand and if you're a rogue throwing knives at the boss. It was definitely not a very fun mechanic.
I think we did it by having like a 10-minute period before we pull where all the melee had to practice their standing point, like in order to get it right. No, I'll be the boss, and now you stand around me and work out where to go.
Yeah, thankfully it's not as deadly here, so you don't have to worry about it. yeah.
Oh, that's true. Let's move over to a kind of fun one. I think again you guys are going to say it's not too hard, but Painsmith, idea-wise, kind of cool. Roger takes through this. We've got spiky balls rolling across the entire platform. And you're spawning these balls, and you've got spikes and all kinds of crazy things happening here. And they tried to make this a bit harder again, I think last week or before the Mythic testing. So I wonder what your thoughts are on Painsmith, Roger. This is a very cool little Bomberman platform, by the way.
Very cool what? Sorry?
Bomberman platform.
Bomberman, yeah. Yeah, I didn't even know what Bomberman was, but...
what?
Yeah, I think Chris Potter mentioned it when he saw the room, and I was like, okay, I don't get it. But apparently people know about it. Any Zoomers in the chat? Okay, anyways.
Not you.
Yeah. But yeah, I think this boss will definitely be a step up from the previous ones, from the looks of it, just because it has quite incredible wipe potential. Like it's not necessarily a very hard fight if you play it properly. I think the numbers are not something crazy, but it's very technical, right? So you need to stand at precise locations. If one person is standing differently, then he's gonna just kill the whole raid. Then you have bombs that if you blow them all up at the same time, then you're just wiping. So overall, I actually think I like this boss quite a lot. But I will say that I did enjoy playing Beast Mastery on this fight. So there is quite a lot of movement. So I don't know. I think when they talked about how they will make this raid more melee friendly, they were thinking of this boss because there's so much movement. Like I don't know, like the ranged are gonna have a struggle on this one. Yeah.
Max, your thoughts? You like this one?
I do like this one, actually. This was also, in the sake of bugs, this was the most bug testing, I'm pretty sure. It had like 2 major bugs, like the main one So obviously, like the thing in Mythic, I don't know if that's what's being played right now on the VOD. I think it might be Heroic, but like what happens is the 3 people with chains like also shoot out spikes in every direction, so you have to like find a cool spot for it. But on testing, well, if you tried to make any of those spots besides the tank one on the outer 2 rows of squares, it just bugged and the spikes would kill the person dropping it. And then also in the intermission, which you like saw those little flame circles coming down here in the video, those were just like, I don't entirely know what was going on with those. I just know that a lot of people were being hit when they were nowhere near the animation. So it was like, so that was like the worst the testing got though. And you know, in a lot of cases, that's like most fights are like that. So yeah, it was pretty solid. Like I said, this might be, I think the main thing that needs to be said about this is the mythic version of this boss will be very much like Zanesh from Nyalotha, just in the way that it's very pass-fail. It's like very pass-fail. There's like 3 or 4 kind of pass-fail mechanics where, you know, the pug in World of Warcraft might just have a terrible, terrible time killing this boss, or, you know, the casual guild, let's say. I think this boss just will kill the absolute shit out of raids that are inexperienced, I think.
I thought we all agreed not to speak about Zanesh ever again. We broke that rule. Bad day for some guilds here, mentioning no names.
He preaches so.
Very bad day.
Why is he always trying to like flame people? You know,
he's instigating.
Yeah.
I think is the.
I'd
Unfortunately,
watch
again,
watch it
I
happen
actually mentioned
live
this earlier, the one
sometimes.
person that trolled on our progress for Zanesh is now in Echo, so I think we're safe. On
is that the second time you flamed that guy in this stream?
Yeah, it's the same. It's the same guy, man. I mean, well, okay.
Throw
I mean,
salt there, though,
there's
right?
there's 6 of them to choose from, so I guess it's it's not too many.
Echo, poaches, pieces.
No,
it's
it's
exclusive.
they wouldn't have 6 of our players. I mean, 6 of our players. That's too much. Fortunately, one of them quit, so it's only 5. Yeah, this fight's actually, I think it's pretty cool. You know, I mean, it's
good subject
basically
change, I like
it's basically like, you know, WoW makes Fall Guys on hard mode. I think it definitely has the potential for some of the top guilds to wipe like 20 times if, you know, they troll a bit. I mean, obviously, you know, you'd hope that people in, you know, the top guilds are able to pass the pass fails consistently, but I mean, you never know. I mean, again, you just look
You
at
would hope.
Zanesh, right?
Yeah, you do.
But yeah.
As another note I want to say is that sorry.
No,
I do like one thing quite a lot in this generally, but especially on this boss, how it's like a clean room and you don't have your camera pushed in randomly from the wall. Like, look at this, you can see the boxes clearly, you know, there's no obstacles, there's no weird stuff. And I think that's not that's a big thing. It can really make or break you if you're wiping on a boss and you're just annoyed by these things, especially when you have to do with exact placement, right? Because where people stand is so impactful for the playing of the mechanics. I think it's great, and I don't know if we're still doing the wipe count thing. I would say this boss is probably a 20 wipes, probably.
Yeah.
But it's not going to be long wipes though, I think, right? Like, it's relatively fast boss. It's okay.
I think it could be both. I think this fight is one of those where it would be totally realistic to expect someone to kill it in less than 5 pulls or close to 30.
Yeah.
Because it's like, it's functionally very easy. It's just, you know, you could have a few things go wrong and then like tilt maybe, and then it just gets worse and worse. It's like one of those, which in my opinion, I mean, maybe those aren't the best designed bosses, but I mean, I don't know enough about fight design to make that, but it definitely seems like one of those tilter kind of fights where someone can, you know, like you're doing this on progression and everyone gets it, and it's like your 3rd pull, and some guy who wasn't there for testing or didn't watch a video for your guild, you know, just doesn't understand that they fixed it. So if you jump off with the chains, it kills everyone at like 5% because he's not in the right spot, and like just stuff like that. That's just like huge tilters could happen, I think.
I think this was it was the boss with the most clips, let's say, and I think it's gonna be right. Like the streamer was like, "Look at this guy! He killed me! Look what happened!" So
many streamers will be Keck W'd on this fight for a bunch of stuff.
Okay. Moving on now to the final four, and you guys brought this up several times earlier on. The Guardian of the First Ones, potentially the Sludge Fist / DPS check wall, potentially. Roger, the Guardian of the First Ones, not a particularly difficult fight, mechanics-wise, but we're blasting, we are blasting.
Yeah, I think it's a great boss because it was even more than Sludge Fist, just a DPS check, like clear, plain and simple. Mechanics are not bad, you know, they're not complicated. The only like real RNG is like who gets targeted by the bombs. So for anyone who doesn't know, the only like special thing really you have to do in this fight is just explode the bombs near the 3 pillars or whatever you want to call them, like the relics. That's it. And the rest of the mechanics is like very, very simple. And then just survive. Just survive and DPS. So way more straightforward than Sludge Fist. You don't have to soak any stones that fall on the ground. But if they don't tune this boss hard, it's going to be such a letdown. Because you should have to play perfectly to kill this boss on week 1. If that happens, then I'll be happy. If it doesn't happen, I think it's almost like a bit of a waste of a boss for us, at least. Maybe not for, you know, other guilds, but it will feel like, okay, great. If they don't tune this hard, it might die in 5 pulls. If they tune it hard, it might die in 50, 100 pulls. It's huge disparity because the mechanics are so simple.
Which
last two?
Oh, sorry.
sorry.
No. Let him go for sure.
I basically echo what he said. Is that, you know?
You echo it, hey?
Yeah, very funny.
Interesting.
No, I mean it's basically like DPS play better DPS and healers play better healing. I mean, it's kind of cool in that you have to like overlap 3 circles into like a 3-way Venn diagram on top of it. But I mean, other than that, it's like super simple, right? As he said, you just, I don't know, do a lot of numbers and hope it's tuned hard. Be fun if it is.
You have something to add, Max?
Yeah, well, I agree with Roger in a lot of things, but most importantly, how I think it's better than Sludge Fist, at least in concept, because it's actually so much more creative too. Because it's not as simple as just like dropping a healer, adding a DPS, right? Because this fight's on rails. You have a certain amount of time, and the only way you can increase or decrease the enrage timer is obviously by taking more or less purging protocols. So by, you know, stacking enough to get through enough of those to give yourself more DPS time is a way more interesting decision of like, oh, well, can we drop a healer and do this? Well, it's like, oh, well, you know, if you drop a healer, maybe you miss these purging protocols, then you lose 12 seconds. Then really, how much is that worth? I really think that fight in general is just potentially like, I mean, they're doing this every raid now, so they don't need any encouragement to do it because I think they get it that, like, you know, the Sludge Fist, the Guardian of the Ancient Ones, which they've done so very few of in WoW. Like the only real notable ones I can think of are like Patchwork and Butcher, but Patchwork was like at a different time in raiding when there was other stuff. Like obviously the mechanics for these are much harder, but like, you know, where it's just strictly a throughput, damage healing, everything, you versus the boss. And this I believe is much better designed than Sludge Fist for that because there's no weird damage amps and it's a little bit more creative. But yeah, love it. Very good fight.
I think
the only first fight we're all excited for. Is what I'd say. Like we're actually excited. Is this the point where we're like, okay, it's getting real at this point? We've got Painsmith, which is pass fail. Somebody can screw it up, but now this is where it's big boy trousers time.
Maybe. You never know, right? Because like the fights after this are big boy trousers because they have they have mechanics that could potentially be very difficult, and specifically on KT timings. But this fight has none of that. It's strictly a are you going to balance this well kind of thing, and it could be yes or no. It's one of those fights where it's going to die in less than 5 pulls, probably 1. Or it's going to be something where you have to just over optimize and maybe do splits beforehand. So you never know. Won't know until you see it. Could be great, could be not good.
Yeah, and one thing I want to say is that the only trouble that I think Blizzard might create to themselves with this fight is that it's a purely single target fight. Mechanics are, you know, it doesn't really matter that much what DPSers you bring. So they kind of need to not leave the game unbalanced that much that certain classes are just going to be like completely off the raids.
15 Shadow Priests.
Yeah.
Any examples there, Roger, of what classes might be benched? Are they green?
Hunters, maybe?
Possibly green, yes, possibly green. I mean, it is what it is, right? Like it doesn't look like it's like super balanced right now. I think probably maybe I'm making a big claim, but last year I think the classes were a little bit closer to each other in terms of single target DPS. But a lot of times you choose the classes for the utility, and if they also do good damage. So for example, like a DK, not only was he doing really good damage, he also brought like a big AMZ. Now they kind of took that away from them. Yeah,
Max, well done.
Thank you. But yeah, here you don't really. I mean, it's gonna come down to DPS, because again, what the beauty of this fight, like Max said, is that if you just have more DPS, you can adjust it to take less damage. So in the end, on farm, this boss will be a complete joke, like complete another joke. Which I guess a good thing. So yeah, good fight, but be careful with the tuning, and I'm gonna prepare myself for the bench. It's all good, yeah.
Oh, no, but you're helping raid lead, right, Roger? You can
Yeah.
farm herbs for a raid spot. I heard that works.
Yeah.
Let's spin the wheel. We got some roulettes. Fate Scribe. This was a really cool idea. I did not test this, so I'm kind of hoping you guys back me up on how cool the idea of this is, where we're going to be spinning the wheel with the runes. The whole room is going to rotate around, and you got to stand on it and control it, kind of Fireland style, where we tilted that boss into corners. Max, what was your thoughts on this one?
You want to go first?
Okay.
I
did address that to Max, actually, but go.
Oh, did you? No, I go on, Max. I didn't hear you.
I'm just trying not to talk too much, man. My natural thing is to talk all the time, so I have to make myself not
Roger,
do that.
what did you think of Fate Scribe?
Okay. Face Trap, I think, is definitely the most innovative boss in this tier. I think it is a really cool mechanic. Visually, it plays really interestingly. I just think, they definitely